Thank you. Please be seated, everyone. Well, welcome everyone to today's extraordinary full council meeting. And in particular, welcome to members of the public who are attending in the public gallery, those in the conference hall, and those watching this meeting via our YouTube channel. At this meeting, we will consider the proposal to confer the title of Honorary Alderman, Woman or Person of the City and County of Bristol to 18 of our former councillors. For those in the building, I would like to draw your attention to the emergency evacuation procedure. Please leave the chamber by the nearest exit and congregate by the cathedral. Can I also ask everyone present to turn off your mobile devices or set them to silent to avoid disrupting the meeting? As with any council meeting, please treat each other with due courtesy, tolerance and respect. Before we begin, I would like to take this opportunity to remind members about the Lord Mayor of Bristol Children's Appeal, a registered charity which was founded in 1920 and raises money throughout the year to help the city's most disadvantaged children and young people at Christmas time. Bristol is one of the UK's most prosperous cities, but shockingly has the highest proportion of young people in poverty in the southwest. Thanks to the hard work of volunteers and the generosity of individuals, schools, organisations and businesses, the charity is able to help 1,650 of the city's children who are most in need. Each child receives a £15 voucher for gifts or clothing and a £35 voucher for food, and these vouchers are administered by Bristol City Council. If you would like to support the charity, please join us for our annual Christmas concert at St George's on Tuesday the 10th of December, straight after full council. Okay, agenda item 2 is apologies for absence. Brace yourself, I've received the following apologies. So we've got apologies from councillors Bales, Bartle, Brown, Breyer, Calashwone, Clark, Classic, Coombs, Gooch, Crawford, Francis, Freeman, Hants, Gemfrey, Johnson, Collar, Lavan, Malik, McCarwey, Michelat, Plowden, Ralston, Russell, Stafford Townsend, Tate, Thomas, Shabalala, Wells, Williams and Y. Are there any other apologies?
Lord Mayor, did you mention Pete? Because I've had apologies from Councillor Pete as well.
So Councillor Pete as well. Thank you very much,
thank
Councillor Rippington. Okay, thank you, everyone. So agenda item 3 is the appointment of Honorary Aldermen, Alderwomen and Alderpersons. We have one item of business at this meeting, the appointment of Honorary Aldermen and Honorary Alderwomen. As set out in the report, on the recommendation of the Audit Committee Values and Ethics Subcommittee, full council is asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderman, Alderwoman or Alderperson of the City and County of Bristol upon the former councillors set out in paragraph 5 of the report. Nominations will be taken in party order. I will invite a proposer and seconder to speak for each nominee. Once all nominees within a party group have been proposed, we will take a vote to approve the nominations. Please note that seconders have been asked to reserve their remarks where possible due to the large number of nominations and also to allow more time for acceptance speeches. We will first consider nominations from the Green Party group. Full council is asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderwoman of the City and County of Bristol to former councillor Carla Denyer. I'd like to call on Councillor Emma Edwards to propose the motion. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I rise to nominate our esteemed Green Party colleague Carla Denyer to be Alderwoman of this council. Carla cannot be here today due to her busy schedule in Westminster, and while it would be tempting to talk about what she'd been up to since May, I think it's important to recognise all the brilliant things that she achieved in her time as a councillor here. Carla was first elected to this chamber in 2015 at the tender age of 30, which was then remarkably young for a councillor. However, since then, we have had many young councillors, and I think it's fair to say that Carla has been a big inspiration to our young Greens who have been elected since. It's fair to say that she's been an inspiration to us older Greens too. During her tenure as a councillor, she held the position of Group Whip and Chair of OSM. She also campaigned on housing and renters' rights, LGBTQ issues and fighting against the expansion of Bristol City Airport. But what she'll be most remembered for, though, is her 2018 motion asking the council to declare a climate emergency, the first council in the UK to do so. The legacy of this cannot be understated. Not only does it still influence policy here in this council, it inspired other councils around the country to do the same, with over 600 local authorities now declaring a climate emergency. This has motivated politicians of all colours to create a framework of local action to tackle global climate issues. In 2019, the Local Government Association even awarded Carla the Clarence Barrett Award in recognition for this action. Like her climate emergency motion, Carla has gone on to be influential, inspiring, and now has national recognition for her work. While she's not here today, she is still incredibly active in the city, working hard for central residents as Bristol's first Green MP, while co-leading our party nationally, inspiring our ever-growing ranks of Green councillors. I could not be prouder to recommend her today to be an Alderwoman or to call her my friend. Thank you.
I'd like to call upon Councillor Patrick McAllister to second the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I am extraordinarily proud to second this motion and I reserve my remarks.
Thank you. So I will now ask for biggest round of applause. I will now ask full council to formally confirm the appointment of Carla Denyer as an honorary alderwoman of the City and County of Bristol. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Thank you. I think that's pretty unanimous. Thank you. So as we've heard, Alderwoman Denyer is unable to attend today, so I'd like to invite Councillor Heather Mack to receive the certificate of appointment and make a short acceptance speech on her behalf.
You're going to have to work out when I'm actually handing this over.
So please feel free to say a few words.
Great, so I have a speech from Carla and I will speak on behalf of Carla, so thank you. Tackling the housing crisis, including one on rent controls, which I continue to pursue in Parliament, and one to help the Council deliver more housing on vacant sites and existing buildings. I also championed the expansion of the city's landlord licensing scheme and another policy I continue to work on in Westminster. I worked with others to successfully protect or restore essential services to help the most vulnerable in our city, passing a budget amendment to increase funding for the local crisis fund, which helps prevent homelessness. I worked to protect Bristolians from oppressive adverts pushing harmful products, securing strong improvements to the city's advertising and sponsorship policy. And I opposed the expansion of Bristol Airport, as Greens across our whole region continue to do. I was called out against the exclusion of journalists from council press briefings. And of course, there was the memorable evening in 2018 when my climate emergency declaration was passed by full council. This was the first time that a local authority had declared a climate emergency in the whole of Europe, and I'm pleased to say that hundreds more councils followed suit, plus Parliament and the EU. Thank you for the cross-party support you gave me that night. Together, we made history. But we mustn't rest on our laurels. An emergency declaration is nothing without the emergency action. This was the point of the declaration, to generate a dramatic acceleration in the Council's action on climate crisis. I also remember accepting a petition from the School Strike for Palestine movement, which called for a ceasefire in Gaza in solidarity with innocent children of Gaza. That was a year ago on Sunday, And while the horrors of conflict have only deepened, I'm more determined than ever to do whatever I can from Parliament to fulfil the aims of that petition. Over my tenure as a councillor, time and time again, we would run up against the cold logic of austerity. I know firsthand how difficult the finances of the council are, and I am pushing now alongside my Green colleagues in Parliament for a fairer funding settlement for the local government. I would also like to pay tribute to my two co-councillors for Clifton Down, Clive Stevens and Tom Halfway. Tom and Clive are no longer councillors, but their legacy of hard work and dedication to our constituents will be remembered for years to come. And I would like to wish new councillors for Clifton Down, George and Serena, the very best of luck serving this incredible community. Once again, thank you for granting me this honour. I'm so proud to have been given the recognition, and I look forward to continuing to serve the City of Bristol as an Alder and as an MP.
Thank you very much. We now move on to the Labour Party nominations. Full Council is asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderwoman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Nicola Beach. I'd like to call on Councillor Ellie King to propose the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I rise to nominate Nicola Beach for the position of Alderwoman. Nicola is part of a rare breed of people, those that possess an indefatigable energy, a certain fizz, a spirit, a spark. When that energy is channeled into politics, it becomes something powerful and even inspirational. During her 9 years as a councillor, Nicola demonstrated an extraordinary ability to create change, to mobilise a room or even a crowd, as we saw when she led the March of the Mummies protest in Bristol, part of a national campaign to champion parental and carers' rights, attended by thousands in Bristol, the biggest turnout of any city outside of London. She was also a champion for the nighttime economy, to protect our city's vibrancy, our cultural venues and safety for nighttime workers and punters. If a cause resonates with her, Nicola is keen to roll up her sleeves and get the job done, often bringing an infectious enthusiasm that motivates those around her. Throughout her time as a councillor, she has held cabinet roles in strategic planning, city design, resilience and environment and ecology. She worked collaboratively across party lines on key initiatives like the new local plan, a hugely important strategic framework that will determine the direction of our city for decades to come, setting out how homes and jobs will be provided and how our environment will be protected. In a lot of our briefings and meetings, Nicola would always bring a challenging view to discussions, one designed to test the robustness of the policy direction and push us further to ensure it aligns with our core Labour values of social justice and improving the lives of the most disadvantaged in our city. And Nicola also loved her ward work. Her time dedicated to Meadowvale Community Centre deserves a special shout-out. I know as a trustee, she worked hard to ensure this important community asset in Speedwell got the investment and development it needed to thrive and support this disadvantaged corner of Bristol. Nicola worked effectively and collaboratively with officers, residents, councillors and organisations across the city to get the best for Bristol and ensure progress for all during her time as a councillor. The Labour Group is proud of her contribution, and I am proud to call her my friend and colleague. And I'm confident that as an Alderwoman, she will continue to serve this city with passion, integrity and purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd now like to call Councillor Fabian Breckles to second the motion.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. Formally second the motion and endorsing everything Ellie said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reserving my remarks.
Thank you very much. Full Council is now asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Mark Bradshaw. I'd like to call on Councillor Emily Clark to propose the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Mark served the Bedminster ward for 18 years. During that time, his number one priority was serving his constituents, taking up their struggles with bureaucracy and making sure their voice was heard. February will see the culmination of one of Mark's final campaigns as a councillor, with the installation of a pedestrian crossing on Duckmore Road next to Luckwell Primary School. This is something he worked hard to secure, working with other parties to make it happen. When I saw Mark a month or so ago, the first thing he said to me is, "Where is that pedestrian crossing?" That's clearly the resolve he needs to get stuff done in politics. Mark was not only a highly effective ward councillor, but also took on city-wide leadership roles. He served as Assistant Mayor and Cabinet Member for Transport under Mayors George Ferguson and Marvin Rees. He led on Bristol's original application to be EU Green Capital, and his work led to Bristol becoming England's first cycling city. As a non-driver, Mark brought an important perspective to his roles, advocating on behalf of people who rely on public transport. Mark was a key figure in bringing Metrobus to Bristol, and the relationships he built with people across different local authority areas were crucial in making Metrobus a reality. Personally, Mark acted as a mentor to me during the local elections, and when I was knocking on doors, I lost count of the number of times people raised Mark and the help he'd given them. By my calculation, Mark served as a councillor for 6,573 days. Having just passed the 200-day mark, I have to say I have an even greater level of admiration for you. As a councillor, Mark embodied Bristol's values for nearly 2 decades, and I know this side of the chamber misses his experience, support and humour. Mark, thanks for all the support you've given me, and more importantly, thanks for everything you've done for Bedminster and for our city.
Thank you. And now I'd like to call on Councillor Tim Rippington to second the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I second the nomination of Mark and reserve my remarks.
No applause for that. Full Council is now asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Craig Cheney. So I'd now like to call on Councillor Kelvin Blake to propose the motion.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. I'm very happy to move this motion. I met Craig in 2014 as a quite young, newly enthusiastic person who wanted to stand for council. I very much encouraged, we met in Grounded in St George, and I very much encouraged Craig to go for it. Now, I did have a bit of a hand in helping because Martin Golding was the councillor at the time, and he said to me, when I'm moving across the city in 2015, he said, I'm not really going to be local. Should I stand down? And I very much encouraged him to do that, opening the way for Craig to be appointed to run that election. So he was elected in 2015 with a 1,000 majority, helpfully whittled away by me, Craig, some years after. He basically had a year's experience ready to take over the big role that was coming. Craig was a worthy candidate for Hillfields. Hillfield's been represented by the former leader of the council, Graham Robertson, and by the former MP, Doug Naismith, for a number of years. It's been all downhill since Craig. I think his biggest electoral challenge came in 2016 when he stood against Peter Abrams' wife, Pearl, and thankfully Craig kept up the 1,000 majority in that election 2016. Obviously, Craig was part of Marvin's cabinet from the start, leading the finance role, which was obviously made much difficult by the massive cuts that came to local government throughout his time. But nevertheless, he still delivered 8 balanced budgets during his time, protecting libraries, council tax reduction scheme, children's centres, and investing in some community areas around the city. So he should be lauded for his efforts during that time. Did it quietly, diligently, and with a sense of humour. He also done, which not many people know yet, also supported newly councillors with the financial brief around the country for the LGA, being a mentor for a number of them. Craig, we thank you for your efforts and your contribution to Hillfields and the city. You did it brilliantly, and I hope that some of the kind of ways that you went about working rubs off on all of us. So thank you, Craig.
And I'd now like to call on Councillor Eddie King to second the motion, please.
Thank you. I'm delighted to second the nomination, but I'm reserving my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Full Council is now asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderwoman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Asher Craig. I'd like to call on Councillor Fabian Breckles to propose the motion.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. I rise to propose my former ward councillor, Asher Craig, for the honorary position of Alderwoman. A well-known figure in the equality sector, Ash was first elected as a councillor for St George West in May 2016. She succeeded the late councillor Ron Stone, who had died suddenly the Christmas before. His hot potato was getting Section 106 and SIL money released for investing in local communities, and more of that later. I remember her phoning me when I was on the way to work sometime the following spring, seeking my support for her selection as Ron's successor, something I was only too happy to give. Ash was re-elected in 2021 before standing down ahead of the May 2024 elections. Ash's rise in the then mayoral system was rapid. She was appointed to the Cabinet with the Neighbourhoods portfolio in August 2016. It was in a neighbourhoods role that she joined me and Kerry McCarthy MP at the launch of the new play area in Dundridge Park in December 2016. It was one of two play areas, the other was Troopers Hill Field, that benefited from the match funding through SIL monies through the then neighbourhood partnership system. So, a bit of a closed loop with Ron. And I've got the photo of you, me and Kerry as proof. It's still enjoyed by local people now. Asher was, with me, Nicola Beach and Steve Pearce, part of the St George posse, 4 Labour councillors working together for the good of a wider community. She then became Deputy Mayor for Communities in March 2017, and that role was expanded in that July, when she was appointed Deputy Mayor and Cabinet Member for Communities, which sounds the same, but her portfolio now included equalities and public health. She held this revised role until June 2021, before taking up children's services, education and equalities, which she held until she stood down in 2024. Among her achievements in her own ward, the most obvious was the renovations of the lake in St George Park, an investment of some £400,000 that included the complete rebuilding of the lake walls, which had been close to collapse, as something she achieved working in collaboration with the Friends of St George Park. I mean, that part of the park is absolutely transformed. So, congratulations, Asa. You deserve this honour.
Councillor Don Alexander, would you like to second the motion, please?
Delighted to second, Lord Mayor, reserving my remarks.
Thank you very much. Full Council is now asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderwoman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Helen Godwin. I'd like to call on Councillor Kai Dudd to propose the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and it's my honour to nominate my friend, former colleague and former Southmead councillor to this position of Honorary Alderwoman. Helen was first elected as councillor for Southmead in 2016 and re-elected in 2021. She's still fondly regarded by many of the community groups in Southmead. In fact, one of the community groups is here today, and only a week ago was asking how Helen was getting on. Helen served in Marvin Rees's cabinet as cabinet member for children and young people, a role she commenced in March 2017. She continued in her cabinet role with her portfolio covering women, children and families from March 2018 to July 2020, and women, families and homes from October 2020 to May 2021, whilst throughout remaining the lead for children's services. My memories of Helen are somebody that's a hugely warm person, and my memories of her time in terms of the professional work she did, she's very much focused on tackling child poverty. And one of the campaigns that sticks to mind is the Period Poverty campaign, and Helen convened a Period Poverty Summit in City Hall, which brought together over 100 key figures from within the city and beyond to grapple the issue of period poverty, including, I remember this quite fondly, a number of high-profile businessmen talking about the issue. And from that summit, a charity was set up to make Bristol free from period poverty, making period products available to all that need them, and tackling the stigma that surrounds the issue. And that charity lives on to this day. I was also involved with the school uniform donation appeal with Helen, and I remember sorting the uniforms out downstairs back in August 2020. And then she was the driving force behind the new youth zone in South Bristol and the construction for that particular project It's already underway, providing fantastic opportunities for young people in South Bristol. So the Labour group is really pleased, and I'm really pleased to nominate Helen for this position of Honorary Alderwoman for the City of Bristol. Thank you.
Councillor Kaz Self, would you like to second the motion, please?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm happy to second the nomination, and I echo all the things that Kai said. I'll reserve my remarks.
Thank you very much. Full Council is now asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Helen Holland. And I'd like to call on Councillor Rob Logan to propose the motion, please.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. And I begin with some apologies. First of all, I am not Susan Collar, who would have been here earlier. And unfortunately, Helen is not here today, which is a shame because it's a consistent feature in local government that you only find out how much people love you when you leave. So it's a shame that she can't be here today. It's also an item of regret that South Bristol is not yet regarded as a city or a nation in its own right. Because if it were, Helen would be our queen. Partly to do with her exemplary history of public service over a very long time. I probably shouldn't say exactly how long, but 32 years on the City Council is an enormous achievement. But being elected 8 times is a well. Thank you. I think that's a formidable achievement. And there we are. Also, the other thing about Helen is just how inspirational she was. How she had, meeting anyone from any walk of life, with empathy, with sympathy, but also with clarity and decisiveness. So whoever she was working with, whether it was in this house or in anyone else's house, she would deal with that issue in a way that was appropriate to that person. And I had the honour of going along with her as she did her work a few times, and I had the even greater honour of her coming along with Lisa and I as we were trying to do a pale shadow of that in the recent years. And it really is a model of public service. Over a long time, she was the leader of my party in this house for 10 years and the leader of our council for 2 years, and also then had the humility to do other things afterwards, most recently as a cabinet member for adult care, which is an enormous achievement, an enormous statement of commitment to public service in itself. Sadly, not everything in Bristol has stayed the same over 30 years. 30 years ago, you could drive across Queen Square. You could buy a house for £54,000. You could watch Nirvana for the then astronomical and controversial price of £6. All of those things have changed, but Helen hasn't. She has been consistent and exemplary as a representative of her community, and I cannot think of anyone else more deserving of this honour. Thank you very much.
And Councillor Kelvin Blake, would you like to second the motion, please? Councillor Blake?
That's interesting. That was similar. So, yeah, very happy to second, reserving my remarks.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Full Council is now asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Chris Jackson. I'd like to call on Councillor Paul Goggin to propose the motion.
Thank you very much, my Lord Mayor, and what a wonderful meeting this is for me. Not only do I get to speak about one of my best friends, but I get a bog-off offer, and I'll get 2 for the price of 1. So, former Councillor Jackson, Christopher, as he is cringingly known on his official council email, Chris, Jacko, and to his ex-firefighter colleagues, obviously Ginge. Chris served as Fieldwood Councillor for 18 years, from 2006 until he stepped down this year to spend more time with his beloved. That being, of course, his well-travelled motorhome. Oh, and of course, Lynn, Scott, Tyler, his dad, and the rest of the Jackson clan, whilst propping up the Spanish economy. He also did 13 years as Labour's chief whip, keeping us all in line, but mainly providing pastoral support to all councillors. And you could probably get a dozen statements from those he has helped and encouraged. I think everyone in the chamber will miss Jacko. The council house will not be the same without the clip-clop of his cycling shoes, nor indeed his constantly displayed knees, and I'm glad you haven't let us down today, Chris. We'll also miss his boundless energy. I have no idea how many miles he's cycled, but it would be in the thousands. A leaflet-delivering machine who used his remarkable stamina during the pandemic by caring for his residents, collecting and delivering food, medication and anything else required. Unfortunately, I've only got 2 minutes to talk about Chris. I could go on for a long time, but then I'd sound like a bit of a fanboy. So I've also struggled to include his long service as a decorated firefighter for 32 years and keeping the bosses honest with his work for the Fire Brigades Union. So thanks for the memories, Chris. You've always been a role model and inspiration, a cherished colleague, dear friend, and even my best man. Thank you.
And Councillor Lisa Durston, would you like to second the motion, please?
Really happy to second this motion, and I reserve my remarks.
Thank you very much. Full Council is now asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderwoman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Hibak Jama. I'd like to call on Councillor Tom Renard to propose the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm pleased to nominate Hibak Jama as Honorary Alderwoman. First elected to Lawrence Hill in 2013, Hibak made history by being Bristol's first Somali-born councillor. Hibak represented her community until 2024, being elected 3 times, serving as a councillor for 11 years. As a councillor, Hibak was always passionate, vocal about the rights of refugees, and an advocate for Bristol as a city of sanctuary. When UKIP's anti-refugee rhetoric was being platformed in the city, she would always stand against it. And that took courage, because it wasn't all that long ago when UKIP were finishing second in her ward of Lawrence Hill. Hibak also held positions of significant responsibility within the council, chairing the licensing committee, and was also Marvin Rees's lead member for international relations, which helped support work with the Global Parliament of Mayors, including the 2018 summit hosted in Bristol. Hibak was there to support residents during the Barton House evacuation, Eccleston House fires, stood up for her residents and helped set up RAID, a campaign against a polluting power plant that was being set up near a nursery in her ward, to holding housing associations to account for failing to keep their properties up to standard. And to finish with a small point, I recall her hosting a debate for local primary schools in the chamber, giving them a memorable experience of the importance of participating in democracy. And it's something that should be happening far more frequently in this council because representation matters. Hibak has demonstrated long and distinguished service to the council, and I'm pleased to nominate her as Honorary Alderman. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tim Rippington to second the motion, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I second the motion and I reserve my remarks.
Thank you. Full Council is now asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderwoman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Brenda Massey. I'd like to call on Councillor Kaz Self to propose the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm delighted to be able to speak to support the nomination for Brenda Massey. I decided to look back at some of the issues at the time after her by-election win in September 2011, and I note that Councillor Weston was concerned about development on Filton Airfield, including possible road congestion. Nothing changes. After being elected, Brenda went on to hold positions of significant responsibility within the council. From May 2013 to May 2016, she served in George Ferguson's cabinet as Assistant Mayor for People, holding responsibility for children, young people education and adult social care. Brenda also served as the Avon Forest Authority Chair. I know she was proud to be the first woman to hold that role, and she also served on the licensing committee. Brenda worked hard for Southmead and was active in things like Team Southmead, the Southmead Development Trust and Inclusion Southmead. She saw the redevelopment at Arnside and was a fierce advocate for her ward. There's absolutely no doubt that the people of Southmead have huge respect and love for Brenda. Whether she was campaigning to keep youth facilities open, to keep the library open, to make shops and parks accessible to wheelchair users, or much more, she can be proud of the legacy she leaves. There was an occasion when we had finished a canvassing session in Southmead. As Brenda and myself walked together, I saw somebody stop their car and wind the window down. It wasn't to shout abuse at Councillor Massey, quite the opposite. It was to say thanks for all she was doing. She continues to be active in the community, and I know that she's proud to support From Bristol with Love to Ukraine, who have a base in Southmead. I have to note that Brenda was supported by her husband Arthur through many years in her role as councillor. Arthur himself gave years of public service, and on behalf of the city, can I express my gratitude for all that you both did. I know how hard it was for you in 2021 running your election campaign. Your fortitude and resilience speaks to you as a wonderful person. So I have big shoes to fill, metaphorically speaking, of course. Thanks for all you've done and continue to do. You thoroughly deserve this nomination.
Thank you. And Councillor Kaida to second, please.
Yeah, thank you. Just want to agree with everything said there and formally second the nomination and reserve my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Full Council is now asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Steve Pearce. I'd like to call on Councillor Paul Goggin to propose the motion. Paul.
There you go. It's a bit like first bus. You wait for 8 years and then 2 come along at once. So, former Councillor Pearce, or Stevie Baby, as he's known to his close friends. Well, you were a councillor, Steve, for 11 years, firstly in St George East and then St George Central from 2013 until May this year. You also served in Marvin's cabinet and then took over as our glorious leader before selflessly stepping in as acting Lord Mayor when I was gravely ill. He's definitely earned being immortalised in stone on the wall of the room next door in a tradition that goes back over 800 years, and I hope his past Lord Mayor medal is actually ready today as well. So in the chamber, we all enjoyed his oratory, and his exchanges with Councillor Weston were always popcorn worthy. And I'm grateful I had an almost front row seat. Working on the Avon Pension Fund, Steve helped to push through the divestment from fossil fuels, doing his best to decarbonise it. A skilled motorbike and sidecar trails racer. A lot of you didn't know that. He's also a renowned cat fosterer. And if Jimmy could be here, I'm sure he would purr in agreement. My other best man and dear friend, his support when I was in the intensive care unit, both Debs and myself, is a contributing factor to me making it out alive. And I don't say that lightly or in jest. He visited me almost every day and we talked a load of old bollards, if you know what I mean, which kept me sane, relatively speaking anyway, and motivated enough to keep fighting. So again, thanks for the memories, Steve. Another role model and inspiration, a cherished colleague, dear friend and best man. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Breckles to second the motion, please.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. Seconding the motion and reserving my remarks.
Thank you. Full Council is now asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderman of the City and County of Bristol to former Mayor Marvin Rees. I'd like to call on Councillor Tom Renard to propose the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm delighted to nominate former Mayor Marvin Rees as an Honorary Alderman. Having served his home city of Bristol as Mayor for 8 years, Marvin's commitment to this city is self-evident. The Alderman status is reserved for elected officials who have made distinguished service to the city, and it's clear that Marvin provided that during his time in office. Marvin spent the best part of a decade putting in long hours into leading the city through challenging times, and nobody can doubt his dedication to making the city he was born and raised in a better place to live. And I firmly believe he did that. Elected as Mayor in 2016, serving until 2024, these years were certainly eventful times. Brexit, a global pandemic, 5 prime ministers, turbulent years for anyone in local government, but he guided our city through those challenging times. We tend to keep these speeches relatively apolitical, so of his achievements in office, I will only mention a few small p political achievements. Setting up the city office and One City Working in a time of finite council resources, pulling together our city partners to work towards common goals was a vital piece of work. Its success is continuing under the committee system, showing its true value. I would also think Marvin's work for Bristol during the pandemic is acknowledged by all, a truly unprecedented event. But pulling the city together through the One City model to support the vulnerable, open over 100 welcoming spaces is to be commended across the chamber. And whilst this one is obviously more political, the Colston statue. Marvin offered thoughtful, considered remarks based on his own experience as a working-class black Bristolian. And aiming to hold a fractured city together is what Bristol needed from its mayor in such a divisive time. There is, of course, much more to cover than I possibly can in 2 minutes. It was an honour to serve in Marvin's cabinet, and I know from my own experience how much he's put into the city, how supportive he was of his colleagues, and so I'm pleased to recognise his contribution by nominating him as Honorary Alderman today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Eddie King, would you like to second the motion, please?
I'm honoured to second the nomination and will reserve my remarks.
Thank you very much. Full Council is now asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Afzal Shah. I'd like to call on Councillor Kai Dudd to propose the motion, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And again, it's another honour to nominate a friend and former colleague to this honoured position of Honorary Alderman. Afzal was first elected to serve Eastern Ward in May 2013 and represented the ward until May 2021. In September 2020, Afzal was appointed to the Mayor's Cabinet with the responsibility for climate, ecology and sustainable growth. Afzal also chaired the Licensing Committee between May 2020 and September 2020. And I've got some very fond memories of Afzal as a councillor. He was very well known for being a very diligent local councillor, someone who was always on duty, taking calls late into the night, dealing with issues that affected his residents. I had the pleasure to accompany him on a number of walkabouts. As a cabinet member, he would invite me down to see some of the issues affecting the ward. I remember the van dweller issue in Greenbank, road safety issues, and also there was quite an interesting incident with an attempted machete attack in broad daylight in the middle of the afternoon, one afternoon. So they were quite memorable walkabouts in Easton at that time. Afzal is a community leader in the Muslim and Pakistani community. He would often lead delegations to come and visit Marvin the Mayor or come to visit cabinet members to discuss issues that were affecting the community. He was also a champion of small business, and again, like he would with community leaders, he would lead delegations from small business to either talk to the Mayor or he'd raise issues affecting small businesses directly with cabinet members. So remember, he was a champion of the taxi trade in Bristol. And again, I went on another walkabout with him late at night to see all the issues affecting the Hackney trade around the city centre, with taxi ranks and the issues around Denmark Street. So he was a very diligent councillor, not only for his residents, but also the various community groups and small businesses that he would speak up on behalf. So it's with great pleasure that we put him forward for this, to receive this nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Eddie King, would you like to second the motion, please?
I'm very happy to second the nomination and will reserve my remarks.
Thank you very much. So I now ask full council to formally confirm the appointment of the Labour Party nominees as Honorary Aldermen, Alderwomen and Alderpersons of the City and County of Bristol. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Thank you. Alderwoman Beach, please come forward to receive your certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech.
Thank you, everybody, and I'm really pleased to be here back in the chamber with everyone, making a speech from the top table, which weirdly, despite making many speeches, I've never actually made one from here before. So hello, everyone. I'm really pleased to be receiving this award today in recognition of the service to the council and to St George. And thank you, Ellie, for such kind, soppy words. It was quite touching. 2016 was a bit of a big year for me. In that year, I managed to get engaged and married, selected and elected, and conceived and delivered my daughter, Emily. Little did I know then what would follow in the next 7 years, and it was just the joy of my life to be an elected councillor here. As a councillor, I've always strived to make a positive impact on the lives of Bristolians, and doing the planning portfolio at times made this quite a high yardstick to meet. But I took every challenge with the intent to deliver for Bristol and achieve a good growth outcome for the city. After all, it is only in those hardest times that I think you have the greatest potential to make a real difference, and I would leave that with everyone in the chamber as you approach this year's budget. I'm really proud to have developed the Bristol Local Plan, and I wish every success to the local plan team now. I know we've met already, but extending my congratulations to Councillor Brown and Bartle in their roles as they lead us forward. I will continue to campaign on early years reform and support working families, and although as Alderwoman I will try and not stick my nose in too far to council business, on the topic of maintained nurseries I cannot make any guarantees, I'm afraid, and I would love to help if anyone wants it. Please take the opportunity the government is affording you to invest in that critical piece of infrastructure for Bristol. In St George, I am really proud of the contribution I made to Speedwell and the community all around Meadowvale. When I was elected, that community was shook by violence, which gravitated around an abandoned green space in the city. Today, we have a regenerated green space with a play park and a community sports facility in Meadowvale, which is going from strength to strength. Councillor Finch, thank you for your active leadership in St George since being elected. We see each other regularly, and after all, that is what the community needs, a visible, active community leadership. I've only been my best self as a councillor because of the support of my family. There they are up there rolling around at the back of the chamber. And the trust of my colleagues and the community of St George. It's a collective effort, and I'm really, really thankful to everyone in the chamber that has helped. Thanks again for the honour, thank you, and the unwavering support I feel that I've had over the last 8 years. And I look forward to a chat at the end and one of those flapjacks. Has Tanya put those out? Oh, no! I'll buy my own flapjack on the way home. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
So, Alderwoman Beach, please take a seat in the Aldermen's benches or join your guests in the public gallery. Alderman Bradshaw, please come forward to receive your certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech.
Well, thank you very much, Lord Mayor and members of council, and particularly to my colleagues on the Labour benches for nominating me, and also Emily for your kind words. 6,570 days sounds an enormous amount of time. I enjoyed most of it, let's put it like that. Look, it's a great privilege and a great honour for me personally to receive this award in my adopted city. I think now I've been here 25 years, and it's really great for me to receive this. I didn't expect to be back in the chamber so soon, so I'm not going to be a regular attender, but it will be nice occasionally to sit on the back benches and view your deliberations and your debates. Although it's a personal award, a personal honour, I want to reflect on all the people who have supported me over the years. It was a privilege to serve in the cabinets led by Helen Holland, George Ferguson, I think is up in the public gallery, and Marvin Rees, and to work with so many cabinet members and colleagues across all parties during that time, and also have the support of many council officers, without whom the things that were mentioned, like Metro Bus and Honorary, was massively important to get those things done. Emily's mentioned the zebra crossing in my ward, which has become a bit of an obsession. But I am looking forward to seeing that built and painted. If it's not, I may go to B&Q because I know what paint number they use. I might just do it myself. But look, thank you so much. As Nicola has said, and I'm sure other colleagues will mention, it's sometimes quite a challenging role being councillor. I don't have to tell you that. So support of family and friends is massively important. And my husband, Mike, is up in the public gallery. You know, he's been at my side during the 18 years, during good and perhaps challenging times. So I'm massively grateful to him. And Cecilia Phipps is also up there, who was one of my co-councillors, who included the late Claire Warren, Peter Crispin, Colin Smith, and also Cecilia as well. And we worked as a team, and without their support, I couldn't have done half of what we managed to do in Bedminster. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Alderman Cheney, please come forward to receive your certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech. Congratulations, Craig.
Very much. Thank you. Very much. One of those as well. Thank you. One of the things I always appreciated as a councillor in this chamber was brevity, so I will try and not drag this out. We've got quite a few older people to get through. But I did just want, first and foremost, to thank the people of Hillfields for electing me 3 times. It's a fantastic place to live and represent. It's got plenty of challenges, but one of the privileges of being a councillor is your ability or the opportunity to meet all the people that make a difference in the place you represent. And whilst that's true across Bristol, it does feel especially true in Hillfields, which is a place that has struggled but is now thriving. And I know they'll continue to be well represented by Kelvin and Ellie and continue to thrive with their support. With Marvin's election in 2016, I was appointed to the Cabinet and subsequently made one of Marvin's deputies. I was hugely honoured to do both of those and to represent the city that I was born in, grew up in, love and continue to have quite a complicated relationship with. I was given the daunting task of safeguarding the council's finances through what turned out to be an unprecedented series of events. Years of austerity, increasing need and demand for key services, a global pandemic that saw us go from debating streetlights to studying the trends of COVID-related illness and death within the space of a few days, and eventually even setting up temporary mortuaries. On top of that, there was a war in Europe and massive inflation to contend with. All the while, the staff at all levels of this council continued to do an amazing job delivering as though none of these things were happening. And I just want to extend my thanks to all of them. And then a massive thanks to Marvin, obviously, who despite all the challenges, despite the personal attacks, despite the actual threats of violence, and despite Bristol's media remains true to his vision and unswervingly honest in all he does. And a thanks to all those that served in our cabinet over the years, and also a shout out for the Mayor's office, who were no longer here and went above and beyond for us for so many years. And finally, I just want to thank my family. Lisa stood by me despite the weekends and the evenings canvassing, despite the weekend working, despite all the late night meetings and phone calls and the times I was away from home. And to my 2 boys for having a slightly absent father who never seemed to stop working. I could have spent much more time playing football and cricket rather than dragging them out on leaflet delivery rounds. So I just want to thank you all for conferring this honour on me. It's something I never even imagined was a thing, let alone a thing that happened to a council estate kid from the edge of the city. So thank you.
Alderwoman Craig, please come forward to receive your certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech.
Good to see you, that's for you, and well deserved, that's for you as well. Thank you very much. Okay, I didn't expect to be making another speech in the chamber, but firstly, I would like to thank you all for this incredible honour. I am actually truly humbled to be elected as an alderwoman here in the city of Bristol. So over the past 8 years, I've had the privilege of serving the city in many different capacities. Elected as a councillor in 2016 for the Great Ward of St George West, and then asked by Marvin to step up into the role of Cabinet Member for Communities, and then subsequently a Deputy Mayor. When everybody's asked me, well, what is it that you actually do? I always say that I held every responsibility in the council except adult social care, planning, housing, and obviously I could never match the skills of my predecessor, who's just spoken, Craig Cheney, in terms of the way in which he managed the finances of this great organisation. But I've also been a champion for transformative change, and during this time, I have always been laser focused in addressing the critical issues facing our communities and driving progress on the most pressing challenges. As Deputy Mayor, I led Bristol's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, working tirelessly to increase vaccine uptake in marginalised communities and tackle the underlying health inequities that the crisis exposed. Through the Bristol Race and Health Equity Group, which is still ongoing, we enacted systemic changes in the city to promote equity and justice for all. Advancing reparatory justice and equity has also been a core part of my mission. I'm proud to have led the establishment of the Bristol Equality Charter, which has signatories of over 400 organisations here in this city, as well as the mayoral commissions on domestic violence, race equality and disability equality. The issue of Bristol's historical connections to the transatlantic slave trade has been a long-standing source of discussion, legal action, protests and petitions over the decades. Recent events, such as the toppling of the Edward Colston statue and the passing of the Atonement and Reparations motion, have further highlighted the pressing need for atonement, repair and justice. The historical suffering and contributions of enslaved Africans in this city have not been adequately acknowledged or integrated into the cultural narrative. And therefore, as chair of the Bristol Legacy Foundation, we will be at the forefront of the city's reparatory justice efforts, aiming to create a focus on city, community and family repair, and to connect the past and present in order to build a just future through a reparatory justice process. Developing diverse and empowered leadership has also been a key priority for me. The Stepping Up programme, which I championed and continue to champion proudly, has built an alumni of over 800 participants, equipping underrepresented communities with the skills and networks to drive change. And additionally, I have been a passionate advocate for sustainable food systems, helping to secure Bristol's status as the UK's first gold sustainable food city. I have shared our city's innovative approaches on the global stage, inspiring others to follow in our footsteps. So, as I take on this new role as Alderwoman, I am ready to build upon this foundation of progress. Thank you again for your trust and support. I am honoured to serve this remarkable city and look forward to working with you all ahead. Thanks.
Alderwoman Godwin, please come forward to receive your certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech.
No, lovely to meet you. Thank you so much.
That's for you as well.
Oh, that's really kind. Thank you very much. Great. Is this on?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. The traffic light system still haunts me, so I'm going to try and keep this short. Oh, well, no, you don't want to tell me that. I'm genuinely so chuffed to be standing here. It's a real moment, and I thank full council and particularly the Labour Group for the honour. When I was elected in 2016, I brought my mum and dad into City Hall to see my new workplace, and my mum said the only other time she had been here was with her dad to pay the rates in the cash hall, when it was the cash hall. So to now be an Alderwoman of Bristol is just fantastic. Thank you.
Of course, my quick thank yous go to Nick, Nancy, Joel and Leo up there. The kids spent a lot of time here in their early childhood. Thank you for putting up with all those late night meetings, weekend surgeries and everything else that comes with politics. I did think it was all over, but we will see. It was an honour to work with so many terrific colleagues and officers, and I'm grateful to call so many of those people my friends nowadays. And those wonderful women of Southmead who taught me so much and made my time as a member so rewarding and fun. All the Woodnook ladies, dear Sherilyn and the rest of the Fowler clan, Trenna, Dina and the late Jackie, an extremely brave woman. The passion, determination and quiet ambition I witnessed every day in Southmead was truly inspiring. Of course, the greatest gift of all was serving Bristol's children and young people as Cabinet Lead. What utter joy it was. So many school visits, play days, award ceremonies, and so many hugs and so much laughter. Thank you so much, full council.
We need the traffic lights. Now, unfortunately, Alderman Holland is unable to attend today, so I'd like to invite Alderman Craig Cheney to receive the certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech on her behalf. Do we still applaud? I think we do. That's applaud for Holland.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you. So I wasn't particularly expecting to be doing this, so I haven't received a speech from Helen in advance. And what can be said about someone who did so much for Bristol for so many years? Helen is and not just for Bristol actually, through the local government association, Helen has achieved a huge amount across the entire country and the whole local government family. And she did that, as always, with a smile and with an unbelievable work ethic. So I just say, I can't speak highly enough of Helen. She is probably one of my mentors, one of my heroes, and just a fantastic councillor. So I know she'll be very honoured to receive this.
Thank you very much. Alderman Jackson, please come forward to receive your certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech. You've got your best shorts on today. I'd be disappointed if you weren't wearing them. Thank you so much. Congratulations. And that's you as well.
Thank you.
There we
That
go.
on?
It's on. Yeah.
Well, Jacko's an alderman. I was a councillor in Filwood for 18 years. You wouldn't have known it in Filwood because I was either, oi you, when you're going to sort this out, or oi Jacko, what are you going to do about that? So, but my beloved Filwood, I love it. And that's the one thing I'm going to miss. I'd like to thank my Labour Party members for putting me forward for this great honour. And partly being a councillor for Filwood, I managed to get my other love to be on the fire authority. Because you had to be, a councillor to be on the fire authority. In my 18 years, I've met some fantastic people from all groups who I made some great friends with. I also made some great friends with the officers of the council. And there are two here tonight who I've made friends with over a very long period of time. To be brutally honest, I'm really glad I'm not here anymore. Because I think it's like when I left the fire service, I think I had the best years when I was in it. And I think I had the best years as a councillor when I was in it, although it was really difficult the last 8 or 9 years. I do still follow a lot of you on Facebook, and it doesn't look good for the future, especially the way things are at the moment. But it's a massive honour for me. And my wife was, she is here. And I'm looking at Louise. The main reason I'm up here is a parking pass, what my wife wants. So if I don't get it in the next week, that lady up there will be after you. So thank you very much for the honour of doing this, and I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all for a beer afterwards. Thank you very much.
Alderwoman Jammer, please come forward to receive your certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech. Congratulations. Thank you. See you as well. Thank you very much. So that's your certificate. Thank you so Just to let you know, we've run out of Alderman women badges, but we'll give you that one now, but we'll change it for you. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I just want to say what a huge honour it is for me to receive this honour today, and I have to thank absolutely everyone that's ever been in the council over the last 11 years. As you all know, I was a councillor for 11 years, won 3 elections. I came into this chamber in my 20s, very fresh-faced and full of energy. I like to think that I'm still fresh-faced and have a little bit of energy on reserve. Which shows that, you know, it's a really, really great honour. I want to thank everyone in this chamber, specifically Helen Holland, who encouraged me to be a councillor and continued to encourage me, and actually her support and her faith in me really kept me going over the last 10 years. I want to thank those people that challenged me, that weren't necessarily supportive, but definitely challenged me and encouraged me to grow. First of which is George Ferguson, who I can see in the chamber. We were political foes and we fought a lot in this chamber, but I'm really happy to say that now we're great friends. We're going to the theatre after this, which should raise some eyebrows. I also want to just take a moment to think about my late father. My late father introduced me to politics really early on. I remember being in primary school and going door knocking, encouraging all the Somali people in our community to vote Labour. So for me to go from being that primary age child to now being in my 30s as an honorary Alderwoman for the city of Bristol, I have to say that all of those achievements would not have been possible without my late father. I think it's really important to mention that. Lastly, I want to say that you may all know that Somaliland just held their presidential elections, and we've seen the challenger opposition party presidential candidate Abdurrahman Ihra has been elected to be the president of Somaliland. I want to take a moment to thank him. He came to this chamber. Helen Holland and I welcomed him, and he will be the new president of Somaliland. I also want to take a moment to thank the current president of Somaliland, Musa Bihi Abdi, who has served Somaliland diligently for 7 years, who also came to this chamber. And I know that our community in Bristol was following that election very, very carefully. I'm very proud of Somaliland for being a democratic country and for making sure that, you know, we keep and continue down the democratic path that we have chosen. I want to thank everyone in this chamber, friend or foe. I look forward to working with you all to ensure that Bristol continues to be a global city. Thank you very, very much.
Alderwoman Massey, please come forward to receive your certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech. It's a long way, isn't it? Many congratulations, Brenda. It's great to see you again. You well. That's for you. We've also got this. Unfortunately, it's an Alderman, so we get it changed for you. But if you take that for now, and we'll change it for you. Thank you very much. We didn't make the right number. Sorry about that.
Apparently, I've been deemed to be an alderman, which we're going to change. Thank you very much for this. I really appreciate today, and it's been great serving on here. I was thinking when you were talking about George Ferguson's cabinet, we tried to move the council around the city and hold it in different locations to try and encourage more people to come. Funnily enough, the one time we had it closer to here was when we were in the engine shed over by Temple Meads. And there was a bit of an issue then because one side of the room could have light and sound, I'm sure you remember that, and the other side was plunged into deepest darkness, which made for some interesting debates. I can see people who remember that one. It didn't quite work, so sorry, George, but we did try. I really do appreciate the honour of becoming an Alderwoman of Bristol. I really appreciate that. I find my time as a councillor to be both challenging and rewarding. Challenging when you can't solve the problems people bring to you, which happens to all of us as councillors, I know. But also rewarding when you can help someone who's had what seemed to them to be an insolvable issue. And sometimes that can be something really quite small, but it's upset them for a long time. And if as a councillor you can do something about that, that is what you're there for. Representing people who've struggled for years in difficult situations, particularly in a fairly deprived ward like Southmead, has its ups and downs. But I've made some really good friends there, and I hope some of the actions we've taken over the years will make a long-term difference for the better. It's been very interesting, should we say, being a councillor of recent years, particularly with financial challenges. And I remember that one of the issues right at the beginning was the birth rate hit a certain stage where we had to find lots more school places for children. And one of the fun things about that was that I could go round with the officers, and we went round all the schools looking to see how much space they had in their playgrounds or in their sports field to see if we could build extra porta cabins on it. So we made really good friends there doing that with the officers. That was good. However, it's now time for Kaz and Kai to take up the reins in Southmead, and I know you're doing a brilliant job there, and I'd really like to thank you for that, and thank all of you for your support over the years, particularly the residents in Southmead. So all the best for the future, and thank you.
Thank you. Now, most of you will be aware that Alderman Pearce became acting Lord Mayor last year, helping to cover the Lord Mayor's duties while Councillor Goggin was taken ill. To recognise his contribution, we invite Alderman Pearce to come forward to receive his former Lord Mayor's badge, his Alderman certificate of appointment, and also to make an acceptance speech. Alderman Pearce. Play some music. Really.
That's why Jeff never turned.
So, Steve, many congratulations. So, first, this is your
Thank
past
you very
Lord
much.
Mayor's badge, well deserved, and thank you for stepping in at short notice.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then your certificate. There we go. And your Alderman badge. So you can wear them both.
So there's, right. Well, that's really very nice.
Is that the end of your speech?
No, you don't get that lucky. I haven't written a speech, which is dangerous.
Traffic lights.
Because I was very pleased to hear that the traffic lights aren't working. At least when I've got a script written in front of me, there is some chance that I might eventually reach the end of it. This really is terribly kind. It was never my intention to seek your chair, my Lord Mayor. And it would have been much nicer if Councillor Goggin hadn't determined that there was a need for him to lie down and have a kip for a few months. And if it hadn't been for that, there's no way I would have... I had absolutely no interest in taking on the Lord Mayor's position. I've got to say, I'm so terribly pleased that I did, if only for 6 months. It was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. And for those members of council who think that it's all really a bit of nonsense and flummery and I don't want to, give it a go, because you do get to see bits of Bristol that as an ordinary citizen you never will, and that even as a councillor, even as a cabinet member, you don't get to see. So please cut the roll a bit of slack. It's much more fun and you'll learn a lot more sitting in this chair than you do in any of those seats. I'm going to give you all an early night, I think. Something that I wasn't keen on doing when I was sat in your chairs. And because you've been so terribly kind and given me 2 medals to wear, I'm actually going to refrain from giving you all a bit of a bollocking.
Bollarding, yes.
I'm sure the minute taker will can be prevailed upon to edit as appropriate. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well deserved. Thank you very much. So unfortunately, Alderman Rees is unable to attend today. So I'd like to invite Alderwoman Asher Craig to receive the certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech on his behalf. Please pass on my congratulations to Marvin as well. There we go. Thank you.
Okay. So hi everyone. I actually haven't prepared a speech and Marvin didn't have an opportunity to send through any words to me because I only knew about an hour before that he was unable to attend. But what is there that you don't already know about our former Mayor Marvin Rees? As we all know, he attempted as a son of this city, born in this city, he attempted to run for leader of this great city back in 2012. And even though he lost with a lot of resilience and a lot of support from his family, his friends and colleagues in the Labour Party, he decided to run again in 2016. And when he was elected by this city, it was a landmark election in that Marvin was elected the first mayor of African descent anywhere in Europe. And for 2 elections, again, Marvin prevailed in 2021 and continued to serve this city kind of relentlessly. Craig kind of touched on many of the challenges that Marvin faced, being a black man leading this city. And those challenges still continue to this day, and I shared many of those challenges with him during our time in office. But one thing about Marvin, he was always also laser focused on ensuring that we delivered the best for this city, knowing that sometimes the decisions that we would make or he would have to make would not go down well with everybody, but he always put communities first, and in fact, he always put the most disadvantaged. They were always front and centre in all of the policies and all of the work that we did. We needed to ensure that whatever we did in this city would not disadvantage those communities. I'm incredibly proud that Marvin helped me to break through not a glass ceiling, but a concrete wall. Many years ago, I've been coming to this organisation for many, many years. And when I got the call asking me to step up into as a cabinet member and then deputy mayor, I actually hesitated and I didn't give him a response for about 48 hours. My children thought I was crazy that I hadn't responded immediately to Marvin. But I really had to reflect as a black woman here in this city who has continues to strive for equity and equality. I really had to reflect on the moment because for me it was truly a moment. And I give thanks to Marvin for putting his trust in me and also my other cabinet members, because the one thing that I will say that he entrusted each and every one of us as cabinet members to kind of deliver and lead on his vision. No micromanagement. And yeah, we could agree to disagree, but fundamentally, he is somebody that I have the utmost respect for, and I'm sure many of you also have that respect too. So on behalf of Marvin, I gratefully accept this, the Alderman status for Bristol. Thank you. Thank you.
Alderman Shah, please come forward to receive your certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech. Congratulations, it's nice to meet you. It's a pleasure. Okay, that's for you. That's also for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
And the mic is on. Thank you.
Lord Mayor, councillors, aldermen, alderwomen, alderpersons, distinguished guests and friends, I'm deeply honoured to be conferred the title of Honorary Alderman for our great city of Bristol, and wish to extend my heartfelt thanks to you all, Lord Mayor, and to all those who have made this moment possible. Serving as a city councillor for Eastern Ward from 2013 to 21 was an absolute privilege. During these years, I was humbled to work alongside so many dedicated individuals seeking to make Bristol a more inclusive, sustainable and equitable place to live and work for everyone. From championing climate action and ecology to advocating for diverse communities and small businesses, my work was guided by a deep sense of purpose, a inherent belief that Bristol's strength lies in its people and its values. So Kai touched on this a little bit earlier. I'm particularly proud to have served as Bristol's first cabinet member. It means a lot, especially I'm from the country of Pakistan, as many of you will know, a country with more glaciers than any other country on the planet, but also the fourth most, the country that suffers the fourth most water scarcity globally. So massive challenges, a lot to compare and contrast, but so that's something very close to my heart. So this role reflected not only my personal journey, but also that of the city's commitment to celebrating its diversity. And that milestone, like this honour today, is a testament to Bristol's progressive spirit for a brighter future. As I accept this title, I do so not for myself alone, but for all those people who supported me over the years. My family, friends, colleagues, Eastern Ward residents, and community groups who inspired and challenged me to do better every day. This occasion also gives me an opportunity to speak to a broader shared aspiration for peace and justice in our world. The situation in Palestine reminds us of the urgent need to stand with those enduring hardship and to advocate for peace, dignity and human rights for all people. As we honour the principles of fairness and justice in our city, may we also lend our voices to those seeking a just and lasting peace globally. Lord Mayor, I pledge to continuing saving our city in whatever capacity I can, championing the causes that matter and ensuring that Bristol remains a city of hope, ambition and opportunity for you all. Just before I close, Kai, you were talking about Easton. There's never a dull moment in Easton. You spoke about several of those instances. And I was listening to the news on BBC Radio Bristol this morning. They were talking about livable neighbourhoods. And I was thinking back to our very interesting experiences on St Mark's Road with the issues there around pedestrianisation. So it's always good just to keep everything in context there. And Nicola, you'll be pleased to know, you were talking about flapjacks. I have got some Pakistani sweets that will have a large box that we'll all be having. So finally, thank you for this extraordinary recognition, and this is a moment that I will cherish forever. Many thanks. Thank
you. We're making good progress. So we now move on to the Conservative Party nominations. Full Council is asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Leslie Alexander. I'd like to call on Councillor Graham Morris to propose the motion, please.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. Just waiting for it to load. Wi-Fi's not very good. I rise to nominate my former colleague and friend Leslie Alexander to become an Alderman of the City and County of Bristol. Leslie was first elected in 2003 and served for a continuous run of 21 years as a councillor. To serve for 21 years in a ward which often votes for more than one party does not happen by chance. To put this into context, when Leslie was first elected, I was almost 30. When she chose to retire, I was over 50. I know I don't look it. Leslie's period of service and the number of times that Leslie has been elected and re-elected is clear testament to her ability, her productivity, her compassion, but also what's clearly visible is just how loved Leslie is by her many friends in the community and her commitment to service. In addition to the day-to-day casework, Leslie was also Lord Mayor for the year 2017-2018. A year which Leslie dedicated to the city and in particular to bringing older people together to fight social isolation. Following this, a year as Deputy Lord Mayor. But apart from that, Leslie also had been Chair or Vice Chair of a Development Control Committee, People's Scrutiny, Audit, Health Wellbeing, Adult Social Care and Health Scrutiny Commission. It is clear that Leslie is very deserving of this award, and I pay thanks to her dedication and commitment to the residents of Froome Vale and to Bristol. Thank you, Leslie.
Councillor Galandris, would you like to second the motion, please?
I am delighted to second the motion, reserving my remarks.
Thank you very much. Full Council is now asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Jeff Gollop. I'd like to call on Councillor John Galandris to propose the motion.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. It gives me great pleasure to nominate Geoffrey Richard Gollop to be an Alderman of the City and County of Bristol. Jeff was first elected 23 years ago and served his constituents without a break from 2001 to 2024. He is without doubt one of the biggest Bristol political beasts of the 21st century. In Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, Cassius tells Brutus that Caesar bestrides the political world of Rome like a mighty colossus, and the same can be said of Jeff in relation to Bristol. Over the past 23 years, Jeff has held almost every senior position at this council, chair of so many committees, including chair of Audit, Resources and OSM. He's represented Bristol at WECA Audit and WECA Scrutiny. He served in the first mayoral cabinet and indeed was deputy mayor to George Ferguson, who has joined us in the public gallery. So thank you, George, for coming. Jeff has also had the honour of being Bristol's Lord Mayor and served with great distinction, together with his wife Bernice, as Lady Mayoress, and Bernice is with us as well. Politically, he was Conservative group leader for many years here at Bristol City Council. I was elected a year after Jeff in 2002, but as I think many of you know, our personal and political friendship goes back much, much further and dates, in fact, from the last century. I first met Jeff, and I know some of you won't believe it, 50 years ago in October 1974. Jeff was in his second year at Cambridge University and had volunteered to be a student welfare officer, essentially looking out for freshers like myself. Coming from a state comprehensive with no Oxbridge tradition, I did feel very nervous in those first few days. I can still remember sitting in my college room, feeling bewildered, and suddenly there was a knock on the door. It was Jeff. We hit it off straight away, became firm friends, and we both got involved in the joys of student politics. We remained good friends after university, but I don't think we ever thought for a moment that we would once again be political colleagues, until fate, or more accurately work, brought me to Bristol in 1987, and the rest, as they say, is history. To conclude, my Lord Mayor, it is a massive honour and a huge privilege for me to move this motion for my dear friend and political colleague, Jeff Gollop.
Councillor Mark Weston, would you like to second the motion, please?
Delighted to second and reserving my remarks.
Thank you. Full Council is now asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Kevin Quarterly. I'd like to call on Councillor Richard Eddy to propose the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It is a real privilege and honour to propose Kevin Quarterly for this position, of course. I have known Kevin for most of my life. We actually grew up in two houses and bishops were facing one another when both of us were actually a knee-high to a grasshopper. We went to the same primary school, Headley Park, and secondary school, Bedminster Down. Kevin was 2 years older than me, but two of our school friends, his school colleagues, Jonathan Hucker, behind me, and Richard Williams, were instrumental with me in forming Bristol South Young Conservatives in 1982. Tellingly, the shop in North Street, Bedminster, originally hired by local Tories where we met, is now a tattoo parlour and body piercing shop. It may not surprise members to discover that I don't presently patronise this. Though, of course, one might do so. Purchasing his first family home in Bedminster, Kevin soon moved back to Bishopsworth and settled there. He was neighbourhood watch coordinator for his street and became an active member of the St John's Ambulance and was very active during the pandemic, where he actually assisted the inoculation programme. Kevin became the fourth chairman of the Bedminster Down and Upland Society in the early 2000s, I mean, and in 2006, replacing my former ward colleague, Councillor Ron Hodges, who had sadly died. He was elected as the second Tory councillor for Bishopsworth. His formidable 18-year service is listed in your papers. Frankly, Lord Mayor, I could not have had a better, more supportive, more reliable colleague than Kevin. The conferment of this honour would be a fitting recognition of his service to Bishopsworth and to Bristol.
Councillor Landers, would you like to second the motion, please?
Delighted to second the motion, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Full Council is now asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Steve Smith. I'd like to call on Councillor Mark Weston to propose the motion.
Thank you very much, my Lord Mayor. It gives me great pleasure to formally move this motion. I have to say that because he's right there and he goes to the pub with me. Stay. Right, okay. I'm producing an echo. Steve's political career in Bristol started like many Conservatives, with me in the pub, actually, pretty much, where we embarked on a new tradition of not only sharing our political ideologies, but the belief that you should punish your liver for it is evil. A proud tradition that we have continued to this day. And to copy the ability to discuss bollards, I think you should never underestimate two councillors in the pub for 4 hours, and you get home and your wife says, well, what did you discuss? No idea. But how is Steve? I don't know. Well, you must have talked about something, and you talk about important things. It's not traffic calming. It's about, I don't know, how many gobstoppers a kestrel can eat. It's important, things. But Steve started his political career in the by-election that was Westbury. And it was one of those, 2018, and I remember Kevin Slocum sliding up to us before the election went, well, at least you won't be able to have a go at us over libraries. I remember looking at him going, watch this. And Steve was quite right. And we knew he picked the right topic because at the beginning of the election, everyone was talking about a whole raft of different issues, and we were talking about libraries. And by the end of it, everyone was talking about libraries. And it cut through, and Steve was elected. It was a very good election. We thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. We're having less fun these days. But he had obviously some great political achievements as councillor, obviously saving the Westbury Library, parking charges in the village, traffic safety schemes, park improvements, and working with all areas of the community. But of course, I think his highlight was when he was Lord Mayor for the city. I know that because we keep ribbing about him, again, in the pub. But I think the highlight of your Lord Mayor year, the very point at which you'd reached the ascendancy, was when he had to chair our budget full council meeting as Lord Mayor on his birthday from that chair. Because nothing says happy birthday like a 6-hour budget council meeting. And my highlight was getting the whole chamber to sing happy birthday to you at the end of the meeting when it looked like he wanted to kill me. So thank you very much, Alderman Smith. I hope it will soon be. I'm delighted to move him. It was a pleasure working with him and look forward to punishing our livers even more. Thank you, my Lord Mayor.
And Councillor John Galland, just a second, please.
Delighted to second, Lord Mayor, reserving my remarks.
Thank you. Full Council is now asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Chris Windows. I'd like to call on Councillor Mark Weston to propose the motion.
Me again, I'm back. So I'm delighted to propose Chris Windows for the position of Alderman. Chris was first elected in 2009 and was my ward colleague for 15 years. And I have to say, during that entire time, without fail, through complete tradition, we remained completely horrible to each other the whole way through. We would constantly mock each other to the point we'd be at community meetings and residents would sit there going, you two actually do like each other. And without batting an eyelid, we'd look at the resident and go, no. Didn't bother. We'd mercilessly took the Michael out of each other. There was one brief period in Henbury and Braintree where we talked about Councillor Windows' aerodynamics. This is when he realised that his car, his new shiny Beamer, had rear sensors. Now, we've been around a long time. That was new. The problem is the rear sensors are at the bottom of said car. The skip is at an angle. And Chris decided to explore exactly where that angle would meet the back bumper. So in the proud tradition, I was horrible to you. And everyone else thought it was funny, so I was fine with that, to be honest. But Chris had some great achievements. We did working together for 15 years, keeping Blaze Museum open, because that was looking to be mothballed. We protected the green spaces from sell-off and got investments in the parks, constantly campaigning about the Henbury Loop, even with Alderman Bradshaw. Remember the amount of haranguing we did with you on that one. Traffic safety schemes throughout the area, Crow Lane, Charlton Road, and above all, working hard for the communities. I mean, Henbury and Braintree is not safe Tory territory. To hold that seat again and again for so long, for 15 years, to be elected 4 times, I think it's a testament to your hard work. And I really do thank you for that. And I think the residents will note that and will remember it. So it is without hesitation that I formally am delighted to propose Chris for the position of Alderman. Thank you, Chris.
And Councillor John Glandris to second.
I'm delighted to second, reserving my remarks.
Thank you. I now ask full council to formally confirm the appointment of the Conservative Party nominees as Honorary Aldermen, Alderwomen and Alderpersons of the City and County of Bristol. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Thank you. So, firstly, Alderman Alexander, please come forward to receive your certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech.
Thank you very much for this proposing me. This is a wonderful honour and I'm very grateful to receive it. I've had a lovely 21 years being a councillor and I've made an awful lot of friends which continue continuously new friends in my ward, which was a lovely place to represent. I also just wanted to say something that Steve Pearce said about being the Lord Mayor. He didn't want to do it, but he was very glad that he did. And everything he said about it was absolutely true. It's a lovely thing to do, and you find so many interesting things to do, places to go. It really is something that everybody ought to do. It was the pinnacle of my career until today. I've worked with a wonderful group of people. They were, whether they were councillors of my own team, and those were always very, very, very helpful, always got plenty of good advice. And other councillors, you've all been a lovely bunch to work with. And so I thank you for that. And of course, all my friends and a very tolerant husband. So it's been a wonderful 21 years, and I've enjoyed most of it. There are the odd occasions when you don't, but never mind. Anyway, thank you all very much. I'm truly honoured.
Alderman Gollop, please come forward to receive your certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech. And also your badge.
Thank you. My Lord Mayor, you're not getting away lightly with me, I'm afraid. I'm going to take my very last opportunity to speak in this chamber. And, you know, I've been speaking here regularly for, as you've heard, 23 years. But this speech is like no other. Group leader, take note, I had 6 months' notice. Not 10 minutes, which has been known on occasion, if I'm lucky. But, you know, there's also something very different about this whole process. For the last 8 years, one person had the right to reply to every speech that I made, and indeed everybody else made. Apart from the fact he's not here today, he doesn't have that right. I could take a wonderful opportunity, but that would not be entering into the spirit of alderman making. But I will say this, one incredible feature of Alderman Rees was the fact that when you made a speech, you knew if you'd actually hit the topic and hit home because of the level of abuse you got in the feedback. And I have to say that was very reassuring, although I don't think Marvin realised it did lead to a significant level of competition amongst opposition councillors. But anyway, that's a different matter. Can I also say, and bear in mind, my transfer to being a non-councillor wasn't of my choosing, whereas most of my colleagues here today had made that choice. So I've been very touched by the questions from councillors, from officers, about how I've coped with the transition. And it's difficult to respond too enthusiastically, but the strange thing is that people normally say they're leaving politics to spend more time with their family when they don't want to go. What I can actually say is I'm really grateful that I've been forced to spend more time with my family. And it may not come as a surprise to you, but it might, that I would not swap 1 hour with my 14-month-old granddaughter for a day of committee meetings in this building. But I wouldn't want those who don't know me and are new to council to think that I make that comment without having actually enjoyed immensely the time I've spent on council. I would want to thank particularly my group colleagues, albeit rather lesser in number than they have been in the past, for their support throughout. In particular, my long-suffering group leader for his support and encouragement. But perhaps my thanks and perhaps your sympathy should go to Richard and John and Leslie, who've endured most of the speeches I've made in this place over that time. But, you know, for me, the magic of this place isn't just from your own colleagues who are going to support you, but actually from the councillors of other parties. As you've heard, I found myself chairing committees from my first month on council, and every year I was on the back benches, I was chairing a committee. Much of that time, I found I was the only Conservative in that group. If you want to get business done and you want to achieve, you have no option but to work with others from other parties to get the right outcomes. And that's the way you learn to trust others. But that manifested itself even more, as has been mentioned, in George Ferguson's cross-party cabinet. The benefits of working together built up an incredible level of trust. But even more importantly, an understanding of other parties' policies and viewpoints. And I hope it's safe to say so now, but particularly working with Mark and Brenda was the most incredible experience, because we learnt to trust each other totally. Even if we weren't going to agree, we could understand why we didn't agree, and we could still work together to try and achieve the best we could. So I say that in the, I hope not naive hope, that the committee system will actually develop and grow in that cross-party way. If I'm giving thanks, I should also give particular thanks to council officers. I always assured them that challenging questions from the scrutiny committee was a compliment. I am not entirely convinced that they always believe me, but we have an incredible level of patience, tolerance and professionalism, and that always came to the fore. I could give thanks all night, but you wouldn't appreciate that. My final thanks go to my extraordinary residents, who, apart from an aberration during the last election, have actually been fantastically supportive. But last and definitely not least, to my wife and family, who probably put up with it because they didn't know anything else and wouldn't necessarily be as forgiving now. My Lord Mayor, it is quite an extraordinary and humbling experience to be in receipt of this recognition. But I have to say, to be in receipt of it in the company of such an incredible group of fellow aldermen and alderwomen, as we've seen today, is something quite amazing. And so I'm particularly grateful to have been able to be here and enjoy that celebration. In conclusion, my Lord Mayor, thank you to everyone for your kind words, for your recognition. I wish you all well for the future. Thank you.
Alderman Courtley, please come forward to receive your certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech. Hello again, Kevin. Many congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And that's for you as well. The mic's on if you want to say a few words.
Lord Mayor, members of council, what can I say? But thank you very much, obviously, for the nomination and also supporting this. It does give me great pleasure in accepting this position as Honorary Alderman. I've got to say, 18 years ago, I never thought, I would have to wait this long for it, but it took a long time. But I got to admit, 18 years, it sometimes been challenging, but would I ever look back? No. Would I do it again? I don't know on that one. I would think twice on that. Can I also pay thanks to Councillor Richard Eddy for his kind remarks? That was very much appreciated. But obviously, as much as I can say, but once again, thank you everyone who supported this nomination. It does give me great pleasure, as I said, not only representing Bishopsworth for 18 years, but also the City and County of Bristol is what we also are. We're not only ward councillors, but we do also represent the city in what we live in. Once again, thank you everyone for nominating me and supporting this.
Alderman Smith, please take us. Oh, that's the wrong line. Please come forward to receive your certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech. Thank you. My voice hasn't recovered from last night. That's really rough.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lord Mayor. When I made what turned out to be my last speech as a councillor here, I joked about my political antennae and being able to read the mood of the room. And it turns out perhaps those antennae didn't function quite as well as I thought, because I confidently expected to be re-elected a few weeks later, and we all know how that went. But I do want to wish my successors in Westbury and Henleys all the very best, because I think days like this do remind us that while those political differences are real and we do fight it out, but actually we're all here for the same reasons and for the right reasons, and I know that they will do a great job. Compared to some of what Richard described as the big beasts, my 6 years here seems like something of a flash in the pan, but to have represented Westbury and Henleys for those 6 years and to have served as Lord Mayor for a year as well was an enormous privilege, even that budget meeting, and something that I won't forget in a hurry. I like to think, I hope that I've achieved one or two things and done a little bit of good along the way as well. And rather like Alderman Bradshaw, one of the things we did was get some funding for a zebra crossing, which still hasn't been built. So, Mark, if you're going to B&Q, get 2 lots of that paint, will you? Thank you all very much for this. It really means a lot. It's a very special thing. Thank you.
Alderman Windows, please come forward to receive your certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech. Hello, Chris. Many congratulations. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
That's for you.
Thank you.
It's got a nice badge of office in there as well.
Thank you. Chocolates? You'll be pleased to know that this is in very small print. It's on aero paper. Well, I don't think I can beat Jeff. So, first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much. I'd like to thank all the councillors here today for nominating me, irrespective of their party affiliation. It's an honour to be an alderman of the city, as a son of the city, as it is to be an elected councillor. I've enjoyed being a councillor, well, mostly. I wish this council well in such difficult times. Hopefully, the restoration of the committee system will enable members to feel more involved in running the city. I recall with pleasure my first year as a city councillor, the cruise through the city. That was in a boat of some description. I can't quite remember what it was like. But with the company of new colleagues that were elected at the same time, the reception on the SS Great Britain with a tour of the ship, all organised by the City Council, followed by a firework display. This was viewed from the deck of the SS Great Britain. Ah, happy days. Finally, I should like to thank the citizens of Henbury and Brentry for the support and friendship they've given over the last 15 years. Some think I'm still their councillor, unfortunately. Old habits die hard. Can I say that I never expected when I was first elected to be put in this honoured position, really. And thank you so much to everybody for putting me in that position. I shall try to observe the proper respect for it for the rest of my life. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Last, but by no means least, we now move on to the Knoll Community Party nomination. Full Council is asked to approve the appointment of and confer the title of Honorary Alderman of the City and County of Bristol to former Councillor Chris Davies. I'd like to call on Councillor Jonathan Hucker to propose the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Chris Davies has such a long and distinguished record of service to the City and County of Bristol, it's actually difficult to know where to start in paying this tribute. I certainly can't remotely do it justice in just 2 minutes. First elected as a Liberal Democrat councillor in May 2003 for Knoll Ward, he provided 21 years of unbroken service, being re-elected on 5 occasions. He latterly sat for the Knoll Community Party. Chris worked tirelessly for residents throughout his long term in office. Chris served 2 terms as the Lord Mayor, 2009-10 and 2010-11, and in accordance with custom in practice, served as Deputy Lord Mayor in 2011-12. During his time as a councillor, Chris sat on no fewer than 14 committees and commissions, including development control, audit, licensing, and public safety and protection. Chris also represented the City Council on a huge number of outside bodies, including the Police Authority, the Fire Authority, the Bristol Port Company, Dr. White's Charity, and the Bristol Drugs Project, to name just a few. Amongst the many awards and commendations, Chris has received the British Empire Medal for services to the community, that was in 2012, and he twice received the Lord Mayor's Medal of Service Award. Chris also received the Queen's Jubilee Medal and the Police Long Service and Good Conduct Medal. Chris won the Bristol Post Gold Star Award in 1995 for saving a child's life. In recognition of his quite exceptional contribution to the city's civic and political life, Chris richly deserves to receive the award and title of Honorary Alderman.
And I'd like to call on Councillor Richard Eddy to second the motion, please.
Seconding, Lord Mayor, reserving my remarks.
Thank you. I now ask full council to formally confirm the appointment of Chris Davies as Honorary Alderman of the City and County of Bristol. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Thank you. Alderman Davies, please come forward to receive your certificate of appointment and make an acceptance speech.
Well, thank you, Lord Mayor, and my proposals for nominating me as an Honorary Alderman. As a Bristolian, I've been honoured to serve my home city of Bristol and North Ward as its councillor for 21 years. It's been interesting, challenging, and at times entertaining, but a real privilege. Serving twice as Lord Mayor and Deputy was a wonderful and unique experience. It was something I could never have imagined as a boy growing up in Bedminster. But I enjoyed every minute of it. But at 80, it seems time to step down and actually retire. What I miss most are the people, friends, and colleagues of this council, and all the people I've met across the city. Bristol is an amazing city which means a great deal to me, and I would hope everyone else here the same work. It continues to be a success, vibrant, diverse, and exciting place. So thank you, and good luck to all the new councillors.
Thank you to all councillors, aldermen, alderwomen, guests and all others for attending today's meeting. The next meeting of full council will be held on Tuesday, the 10th of December. I would like to remind members that the Christmas card signing to support foster carers and children in care will be continuing in the conference hall after this meeting. And I'd also now like to invite everyone to join us for refreshments, including Pakistani snacks, I believe, in the conference hall. Thank you very much, everybody.